Is this real life? Are we serious right now? The Toronto Maple Leafs are set to play the Boston Bruins in the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs, again, for the fourth time in 11 seasons. The curse continues with this era. The Leafs also have a terrible loss to the Florida Panthers where they did not look playoff ready. All of that and more in this episode of Leafs Digest. Welcome back to Leafs Digest. My name is Darius Domingues. And guys, we've noticed that about 80% of you watching our videos aren't actually subscribed to the channel. So if you want to do yourself a favor to stay up to date with everything Toronto Maple Leafs, including news and playoff game updates and reactions after the games, hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with everything. And guys, this is real life. This is not a joke. All right, this is trauma for Toronto Maple Leaf fans. This is real. The Toronto Maple Leafs are playing the Boston Bruins in the first round again. Again, we cannot escape them. We cannot escape them. Just when I thought it looked like it was going to be the Florida Panthers, which, by the way, isn't that much better of an option, especially after what we saw tonight. Yes, they've handled them pretty well this season, but they lost to them last year in the playoffs. All right. And they didn't look great tonight. So not convinced. Not convinced from that avenue either. But we'll take a look at the matchup as it stands so far this season. I mean, here we go. This is what it is. The Florida Panthers clinched the Atlantic Division title, setting up a Battle of Florida, which should be really good, actually. And then it leaves Boston and Toronto, with Boston having home ice advantage, which opens up another scenario for another Game 7 in Boston. Oh, it's going to be so exciting. I can't wait. It's going to be fantastic. And this is how it shakes up so far this season, with the Bruins winning 4 games, 4 straight, outscoring the Leafs by double. Outscoring the Leafs by double. Everything is leaning to the Bruins. Look at the save percentage in the games that they played the Leafs so far this season. It's almost a 950. That is almost unbeatable. And the Bruins have won 6 straight playoff series versus the Maple Leafs, and the Leafs have not been able to beat them since 1959. And that was a storyline dating back 11 years ago when they met in the 2013 Stanley Cup playoffs. That was 3 series ago, and they're all in the first round. And I'm going to turn optimistic in a minute, but let's just get this out of the way, all right? Let's get the obvious out of the way. This is not a favorable matchup for the Leafs. This kind of stinks. I don't think Florida would have been either, but just the fact that this is real now is very concerning because the history is there. The history is there. And this sets itself up for a great playoff series, by the way. Like, this is going to be fantastic. And I think one thing is going to be for certain. We know for sure, if the Leafs lose in the first round, especially to Boston, and it's been known, we have a video on it on the channel. Go check it out if you want. Things are going to change in Toronto. The front office management, could be the coach. Things are going to change if they lose in the first round. So it's either you finally slay the dragon you haven't been able to, that set all of this in motion, the whole rebuild, everything in motion. You finally slay them this year, or it's a new era again. It's one or the other. And I think that in itself is exciting. You're going to go one way or the other, and let's see how it plays out. It's going to be one extreme to the next. Either you finally slay the dragon, and maybe they're able to ride that momentum into a second round series against either Tampa or Florida. Again, it's terrible. Not favorable matchups anywhere. But if you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. All right, so that's what it is. That's where we are at. And to go a little bit further, I mean, the Bruins are giving the Leafs a little bit of bulletin board material as well, I think. I mean, the Bruins needed just 1 point on home ice and have 39 shots combined in their last 2 games of the season. They had 0 goals at the time of this tweet against Washington and Ottawa. They did score 1 goal on the power play. It definitely seemed like they were throwing those games, like very uncharacteristic for the Bruins. So it's either they were throwing those games or you're coming into a playoff series with a team that isn't up to snuff right now. They aren't playing their best hockey. And both things could be true. The Bruins have been struggling, and their coach even said this past week that they're not ready for playoffs. He said that they should be playing better, which is, nice. But we've heard these things before as Leaf fans, so it's a little concerning. It's still very concerning. And obviously the odds makers here have the Bruins as the favorites as well. So if you're expecting a Leafs upset, which, I mean, so many things play into this. We saw it in the Amazon documentary series where, Paul McLean was talking about how the Leafs have skeletons in their closets and all this stuff. Like, they're haunted by this stuff, and a lot of it plays into that. It's going to be a big mental game at play here against the Bruins. It really is, and it's going to be physical hockey, and the Bruins are going to get away with what they get away with. We've seen it time and time again. It always happens. So you just have to play above everything that's going to come your way. The Leafs just have to find a way to win. That's what it is about in the playoffs. They did it last year against Tampa. They just found a way to win it. They didn't necessarily outplay Tampa in any of those games, but they found a way to win. Samsonov's going to have to be good too. A lot of factors at play here. I do think they can beat the Bruins. I thought that they could beat the Bruins every single time they played them in the playoffs. And it was close every single time. It went to game 7, overtime one time. Didn't like how that ended, but they have a chance to rewrite it here. The team is built differently. It is. It just is. And I'm excited to see them in the playoffs. I think Bertuzzi is going to be huge for the Leafs. One way or another in this playoffs. He was great for the Bruins last year. They still lost, but it doesn't take away from the fact that he was fantastic. So I think he's going to be great for the Leafs here. And the team is built a little bit differently. And when the playoffs start, the games are different. So I'm excited to just see the first couple games. And hopefully it ends up going the Leafs' way in the end. And this is the right attitude to have from Bissonnette too. I mean, bring me the Bruins. It's going to be great. Like, this is literally, deep down, this is what we've all wanted. They need to slay the dragon. The Leafs need to slay the dragon. The Bruins, again, one of the better teams in the NHL. They just have to find a way to get it done. And on paper, yes, the Leafs should absolutely win. We've talked about it for 2 years, but the Bruins find a way to win. It's going to be very exciting. It's going to be a fun playoffs again. Like, last year was so nerve-wracking. Can they finally do it? And then you finally get that release of they did it. This year, it's going to be an entirely new challenge. You got to slay the dragon, man. You got to finally put the Bruins down. You got to finally find a way to have that killer instinct. You got to find it. You got to find it. They did it last year, and then they fell against the Panthers. But anyway, got to find it. And the one thing that has to follow into the playoffs is getting that top line back together with Domi, Bertuzzi, and Matthews, because you could tell Matthews' game changes a little bit with Mitch Marner. I like him with Domi and Bertuzzi. That should stick in the playoffs. As soon as Domi is back in the lineup, he's back with Matthews. That's the way I think it should be. Top line into the playoffs, Bertuzzi, Matthews, and Domi. Has to be. It just has to play. They play with a lot of jam. And as the saying goes, Matthew needs a little bit of that on his line. They were playing well together. I know Domi was injured. That's why they didn't play tonight. He needs to be back on the top line. Samsonov needs to be good. Like I said, the defense, I love what I saw from McCabe and Benoit. We'll hit up the Benoit train again. Love what I've seen from them. And I love what I saw in the game tonight from both of those guys as well. They're not going to back down. They need to bring that into the playoffs. It's going to be a deciding factor. And speaking of tonight's game, terrible loss. Terrible loss. We won't get too far into it, but I mean, the Leafs did not look playoff ready tonight. And after a game like tonight's, it could be a good thing that they're playing the Bruins. They do not play the Florida Panthers well when the games are tight, high-paced. They just don't. The Panthers play a far better caliber of hockey, like physical caliber of hockey, like playoff hockey. They just do. They're built. They are built for it. They are built for it. And I'm sure in videos, when the playoffs come, and we're going to have live streams and all that stuff on the channel, so stay tuned for that. We're going to talk about maybe roster construction and stuff like that, where the Leafs could be a little bit better. But anyway, that'll be for another time. But hey, at least they'll be rested after getting completely outshot in tonight's game. Just a poor showing. Horrible game. Really no positives to pull from it, unless Matthew scored 70, which is now another storyline. Does he play tomorrow night? I'm not sure he's going to. You want to give him that rest because you know your playoff opponent now. Things are set, so it's going to be interesting to keep an eye on. But Nick and I will have you updated all the way through the playoffs. It's going to be exciting. News videos, all this stuff heading down the stretch. It's going to be super exciting, and we're going to have a lot of live streams as well because you guys have been enjoying the live streams, so those are going to be fun. But let me know in the comments what you think. What do you think of the matchup against the Bruins? It's going to be very, very interesting. Can the Leafs finally do it? It's going to go one way or another. It's going to be the Leafs either slay the dragon, finally get over that hump that they haven't been able to solve against the Bruins, or there could be huge changes coming for the Leafs. Front office, coach, could be players. There are going to be huge changes one way or another. It's going to be exciting. And Nick and I will see you for another video tomorrow.